Smith corks one in right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. There's the drive. Way back. It might be. It could be. Playing a high drive into left. Back goes the Craig. He's at the track. He has it. And the Cardinals world champion for 2011.
A little bouncer slowly toward Bryant. He will glove it, throw to Rizzo. It's in time, and the Chicago Cubs win the World Series.
This is the Team of Rivals podcast. No insiders, no anonymous sources, just passionate analysis from the bleacher seats. Here are your hosts.
All right, everyone, welcome back to this week's show. So happy to be here with you. Since we have talked, since the crew was on here last time, we've had some changes in the standings. The Cardinals went 0 for California over this last week. They returned home to face the sad Pirates. It's unfortunate that we can't face the Pirates and Reds 50 more games, just those two, but that's not going to happen. In with me in studio this week is the show Infiltrator himself, my son Braden. He's the one that has figured out a way to hack into the show from time to time, but he's physically here, so he didn't have to cheat the system this time. He's
wearing a shirt.
He's wearing the blues,
Cardinal blues.
Still don't know how I feel about that blue, but we'll work with it as we go. All right, gentlemen, how's the week? Oh, and almost forgot. My goodness, how rude of me. Sitting in for Brecklin this week because she couldn't be here. She is in the midst of taking a 1-week course, but she's got a lot of work to catch up on to do tonight. So she couldn't join us. So sitting in for her, representing the Cardinals, is our old friend from the show. Adam Maurer joins us. He's on the phone. We won't see his pretty face tonight.
How's everyone doing?
Doing great. Adam, you're in the process of moving, so I know that you couldn't jump on camera here because in your words, you have boxes and shit everywhere.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been too pretty.
Okay. Well, we'll give that a pass tonight.
I feel for you, Adam. I was right there with you a couple weeks ago.
So apparently it's that time.
It happened quickly, and now I'm kind of like, I forgot how much moving sucks.
Are you moving into your Malibu beach house because of the imminent success of the Grail? Is that what precipitated this?
Unfortunately not. However, it is a step in the right direction. Not a piece of the pie, so to say, just yet, but getting there.
All right.
Okay.
Excellent.
Keep your hand on it the whole show. We've got a microphone preamp that's that I don't know. Never mind. I don't care. We're not going to get into the technicals of what's going on here tonight. But we have had a major change in the standings. Cardinals fandom is up in arms, especially if your fandom is heavily into social media. We're not happy right now, but it's almost like less anger directed at the performance of the players and the team and how they're actually doing, and it's more anger that has really been directed at the Cardinals and their front office, their lack of effort, it appears, their lack of a sense of urgency, anything that needed to be done. They didn't do anything to help this team out at the deadline or prior to the deadline, and that's really landing on fans the wrong way. So
not Cubs fans, it's landing on us. Great.
Well, it should. And the Cubs, on the other hand, your division rivals, almost all of them did something. We're not going to count Pittsburgh and Cincinnati tonight because, of course, I don't know what they would have done. They didn't do anything, but I tell you what, I do like the Bauer move to the Reds. If you're a Reds fan, you got to be happy about that. But I'm not here to talk about the Reds. You're not here to talk about the Reds. Cubs fans' perspective, yes, enjoying the enjoying the nothingness out of the Cardinals front office. Are you surprised that nothing happened?
No. Not at all. And yeah. You knew what after the trade deadline came. I mean, watching Twitter, every single Cardinals fan knew what was going to come out of Mo's mouth. We like what we have. we want to bring up from within the system. We feel we got a good group here, and that these guys are gonna pull ahead, and and it's pretty much exactly verbatim what he said.
Yep.
And
right.
I mean, you guys were calling this at the beginning of July before anything even happened. Is they're not going to do anything because they're just going to kick the can down the road once again. And
yeah, and that's frustrating itself, right? I mean, now surprised that nothing happened, surprised that nothing significant happened at all. No, not really, but that still doesn't mean that disappointment and that irritation's not there. And you're right. I mean, it's been the last 4 trade deadlines now. It's just like hit the replay button, Mo. You're gonna get the same responses from him, and we can talk about what they could have done. Would it have mattered? I'm not really sure that's the point. I think that fans are looking for urgency from the leadership there, and we're just not seeing it. We're not seeing.
Well, and the problem is you're not going to see it until you start seeing them actually promote the players who are succeeding at the minor league level. But oh wait, they're not on the 40-man roster, and oh, we also have bad, a terrible roster construct from the front office, and then just so many issues with Dexter Fowler. I mean, look, yeah, he's playing decent, he's doing well, he's doing his job, but I mean, he's just blocked this team from thinking outside of the box. And you're like, oh, well, if we bring Lane Thomas up, or if we actually, God forbid, bring up Adolis Garcia or Randy Arozarena, they'll have to play above them because they're playing at a higher level, and that's kind of the point. But when you have contracts, in play, especially one like his that's large for the Cardinals, it just, bad roster construct and then poor choices, poor trades. I mean, this dates back to years ago when they let Lance Lynn go, and then they traded Marco Gonzalez, and then in the offseason we traded potentially an all-star catcher in Carson Kelly, and then when healthy, Luke Weaver looks like he could be a solid number 3-4 guy.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at a lot of the things that they've been doing, and they've been trading. I mean, you could construct another major league team with all the players that they've traded away. And it's hurt us. And that's why, like, years past, we're holding on to our top talent. We're not going to trade them. But that's all they do is trade away their talent.
Well, yeah. And if you really boil it down, right, I think you brought up a point that's been all over talk radio. It's been written about, and that is, you have some young talent there sitting there in the minor leagues that is blocked from coming up. If you backtrack everything, it's just been their evaluation of players, contract extensions, trades, signings. They just have. There's been just failure after failure. We can go through a list of them. Actually, we could probably call Dan Curry, and he could provide us a very thorough list from the Cubs Cards cast. He's been all over Mo for 2 years now. Really out ahead of many people like myself that get behind a podcast microphone. Dan Curry from the Cubs Cards cast was actually calling this 2 years ago, predicting that this kind of thing would happen. He was right. You go back and you look at the Matt Carpenter extension, head scratcher, right? There's so many of those where he's extended them, and you're like, was that necessary? The timing of it couldn't have been worse. The Dexter Fowler signing at this point, I wasn't willing to call it a bust.
Mosaic worrying about his left fielder's arm in the offseason instead of worrying about your potential starting pitcher and Carlos Martinez, who was supposed to be in the rotation. If he's healthy and he's a starting pitcher, I'm not saying that we're much better off, but he's got that potential to be a 12-14 game winner that makes a difference for us if he's in the rotation. I mean, and then you look at the Jordan Hicks, the breakdown of Jordan Hicks, like writing him too hard. Look at what happened. And, Keg Krimble, who, of course, the Cubs went out and got. That was a guy that could have, kind of bridged the gap between Hicks to the closing spot for us. So, I mean, it was a good move on the Cubs. They did it. Kimbrel is a top talent. And again, I see it as another miss. So, I mean, just all these things that they should have done, could have done, and they decided not to do. We're happy with what we're going into. We've created this structure. We've created this roster. We're good with it, but we don't want to answer any questions about it. We don't want to actually have to deal with the outcome because we're good. We're okay. We're okay with mediocrity. We're good right here. We just want to be in it. Like,
excuse me, Adam. 1 second. 1 second. Anybody who's watching on the live feed, has a comment on here. I can't hear anything. You might have to close it down and open it back up. My father ran into this a few weeks ago. Pete is gone.
Peace.
Sorry.
We'll get him back in here.
Did I bore him off? He's like,
yeah, he's like, this is a lot of Cardinal talk up top. I think I'm out.
I didn't do anything. You kicked me off.
Did I?
I haven't touched anything.
I didn't touch anything either. I don't think. Yeah. Well, you were just sitting there quiet. I had no reason to boot you, but
hey, don't let him do that. So you don't let him hold. Don't let him do that shit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and so you look at the young players that you were talking about, Rosarina, Dylan Carlson eventually. These are names we'd love to see up here. And yes, part of the reason they haven't been called up is because they're not on the 40-man. Somebody has to be DFA'd, moved out, outright released. I mean, and they're not going to be willing to do that with Carpenter. With he's got $39 million left to pay him, unbelievably. Fowler's got a little over 2 years left on his deal, so he's got 30-some million coming his. It's just not. I don't see the organization eating that money and walking away. But when you're in a division like this and you're in a dogfight, you really need to be putting your best team out there, right? And right now,
did you see that they were in it on Syndergaard? That New York wanted Bader or O'Neill?
Well, that was
Wheeler.
Wheeler, yeah, that's another thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Either way, you're not really using either of them right now. Why the fuck would you not trade one of them? Send them both back. You don't really like him anyway. You don't give him. Bader gave a lot. All he does is hit, and like, you got a little injury. We're going to put you on the 10-day IL. We're going to hold you back. We're going to keep you back because they don't want O'Neill. They don't want to get rid of him.
Yeah, well, they
want Bader, but he can't.
Well, I'm not on either's bandwagon right now. It's not that I dislike either player, but I think if you had a chance to get Zach Wheeler, now Zach Wheeler's not going to anchor your rotation. You're not getting a first or second starter here. We know that, but they do need somebody that's going to eat up innings for them, because what's going to happen here, guys, we can talk about it later as we talk about the remainder of the year, but I think just a quick, what's going to happen is bullpen's going to run out of gas in September, and the starters are just not eating up enough innings, and they're asking the bullpen to do way too much, and it's going to come back. It's going to bite them, and I don't have high hopes for what's left. There's a lot of people saying the sound isn't working, and that's weird, but go ahead. So, going back to the Cubs at the deadline, I mean, this was literally like last second. Castellanos from Detroit dealt over. How did you guys feel about that one, Pete? I think you predicted that. So it's not like it was only you, but
well, that was what the word was. I predicted they weren't going to end up doing anything, so I was very wrong. I was shocked, especially the way, I tell you what, this year's deadline was wild, man, because it looked like nothing was going to happen.
After the deadline, it got wild.
Yeah, it all came out after the deadline. So, I mean, I can only imagine what MLB's office phones were like in the 15 minutes before the deadline, right? Because you got to get salary numbers, you got to get, dollars that are going back and forth. You got to get all of that approved by the front office. So, I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy that all that happened. And, getting Castellanos essentially for nothing. They're Richin and Lang were well regarded, but they weren't at the top of the system. To think that the Cubs apparently improved themselves without having to give away really anything at the top of their system when the system is finally starting to rebuild. I think that was almost as meaningful as it was the fact that they were able to land Castellanos, and then to have him come through the way that he has in his first, 8 games or 10 games, has been just remarkable.
Go ahead, get it out.
I give the Cubs credit, because they went out and did
what?
Just like every other buyer. But, the definition of stupidity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
That's insanity.
Insanity.
I like your stupidity twist on it.
That is literally Mosaic and the organization. If you don't want to trade your young guys, fine, bring them up. But they don't want to let go of the guys. Well, they're coming back, and we want this lineup. No. Suck it up and put your best players out there. I'm tired of it. It's the same. I'm reading the same book.
That's a great point, Braden. If you're not going to trade your young guys, then you got to bring them up, because otherwise, what value are they?
Yeah, and because what'll happen is you hold on to them too long.
Yep.
They lose value if they don't pan out. And yes, I know, understand there's a risk, but there's also a risk of holding on to guys too long.
Right.
A huge example. It's a risk trading them. It's a risk keeping them. So,
and where it's really a risk is burying them. And I think that you've seen that with the Goldschmidt trade. I mean, obviously, when you get an opportunity to land a Paul Goldschmidt, you do it. But Weaver and God, I'm blanking on his name right now. Thank you. They're thriving in Arizona. They're showing the potential that you would, as Cardinals fans, I would assume, thought that they had. They just never got the chance to show it in St. Louis because they were buried.
Well, Weaver was in the rotation last year, and he did struggle. I agree with you there. Kelly had a few chances when Yadier Molina went down, when Chris hit him in the nuts with a foul ball on purpose. And
but how much of a chance did he have? He wasn't the primary catcher when Yadi went down.
He had quite a few starts over that stretch.
He did, but it's the same thing that you've seen with Kisner, with Yadi when Yadi's been out this year. I mean, if Kisner's your future, then why is he not? I get it. Wieters is performing, but why not see what these young guys can do? You're not doing Kisner any favors by having him sit on the bench and only catch 1 or 2 games a week. If you're going to do that, then send him back down to AAA so that he can.
No, and I don't disagree with any of that. One of the problems with Kisner is, they extended Yadi, a 3-year thing. The reward, I think, for what he's done, and you can probably throw that on the pile of mistakes that Mo has done. But they wanted to keep him. They wanted him retiring there. It looks like that's going to happen. Now the question will be when he comes back: is it going to be more split time? Wieters is probably going to walk after this year. But he has been performing, which has kept Kisner on the bench more often. But I don't disagree with that. I think the bigger frustration, because Wieters is performing, the bigger frustration with Cardinal fans is this inconsistent lack of offense. And we've got a couple minor leaguers that are tearing it up. We want to see them come up and see what they can do. And the 40-man roster thing, I understand technically what's going on here. But at the same time, I'm like, big deal. Then remove a couple people from the 40-man and put them on. So what if their clock starts?
Ooh,
big deal.
Street. Ooh.
Yep.
No shit. Like
Drew
Robinson. There you go.
Man.
Thank you, Al.
Speaking of Drew Robinson, the Texas trade, guess what Texas did? They DFA'd Patrick Wisdom. We gave him for Drew Robinson. So guess what? They let go of their guy in that trade. Why is it so hard for us to do it? Oh, wow.
You just set it off again with your hot take.
Look at Lane Thomas on the bench. That dude has only came in the 9th inning to pinch hit or pinch run every time. Give him a shot. Call up Ravello. Put Andrew Kitzner.
Go Brewers. Get the hell out of here. This is Come on, Sam.
Nobody
like
likes the Brewers, and Elliott lives in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
No, I do not.
He moved.
Sam,
I'm back in Illinois, my friend.
I want to ask Sam, what was the most exciting moment of the trade deadline for him? I mean, the Brewers making impactful moves left and right all week. I'm scared. I'm shaking.
Drew Pomeranz.
Oh, well, Jordan Lyles.
Jordan Lyles. Yeah, after Jordan Lyles got pounded by the Cubs twice this season, the Brewers went and traded for him when their series with the Cubs is not done. Yeah. Smart move. Brilliant.
Well, you got to do something. You know what? I mean, but at least they did something. The Cardinals got Adalberto Mejia, who pitched 1 game for him, and then his ass is back in Los Angeles.
Yep.
Because they DFA'd him. I mean, what a joke. He's already DFA'd by 2 teams this year. Who wants him?
More than 2 teams.
Hold my. It's not hold my beer, Mo. He says hold my coffee, but same thing. And then what is it? Ross Cup.
Zach
Ross Cup. Yep.
Yeah.
Nobody cares for goobers. I don't want them.
Yeah, right. I don't see the Ross Cup as half full.
See, this has been the surprising thing that the Cubs have done this year, where they've brought up some of these young guys because there's been such the bus from Iowa has been busy these last couple months, and I did not expect them to bring up Robo Garcia. I mean, he was killing it down there in AAA, and they brought him up, and he kind of a flash in the pan for his first cup of coffee with the club. Pitchers started to figure him out, but I think he's gonna eventually. I think he'll be up with the big club for longer term once he kind of readjusts to the league. So, and then, having Adbert Azalea come up and some of these younger pitchers, and some of these guys have stuck. And thank God, Rowan Wick in the bullpen, Dwayne Underwood, he was a starter.
He's making
He
these
didn't strike somebody out tonight. So
What's that?
The Dwayne Underwood experiment hit a road bump today. He only struck out one hitter.
Oh, instead of 6 in a row.
Yes.
So, I mean, fantastic thing for him. After being a starter, having a bumpy ride as a starter, being sent back down to Iowa, starting to come out of the pen down in Iowa, and then coming back up and having a showing like that the other night where he strikes the first 6 batters he sees out. So, I mean, it's pretty awesome. And, and I'm surprised that the Cardinals don't do that more. And I can see why fans are clamoring, because it's not going to hurt anything. You're not going to get any worse production from the guys that they would replace and play for than they are now.
Right.
So, and I understand that the money side of it with Dex and a few of the other guys, but you got to do something. You're in your last 50 games here, and if you're gonna make a change, you got to do it now. I mean, you saw what happened with some of the pitchers with the Cubs. With Thickberger, I mean, he was down, came back up. His first outing, it was a short leash. Boom, pulled him, and then he was traded. So, I mean, that's almost what you have to do now with some of these guys who aren't performing towards the end of the season. You need to get some production out of people, and you got to see what you got.
The problem is they don't want to hurt Matt Carpenter's feelings, Oh, Matt Carpenter, well, I think.
Oh, boy.
Just give him a jar of salsa and tell him to go sit on the bench.
Or Mike Chill. Oh, Michael Walker had really good stuff. Michael Walker. I don't know. Get out of here. The problem is the Cardinals don't want to hurt their main guys that have been around for a while's feelings, so they don't bring up the guys that can make a big change. They just don't want to do it because they want the guys that should be the 9 starters out there all the time.
The problem is the Cardinals are so ass backwards that they don't even understand their own reports on their own players, where they're like, oh, well, we don't think we actually have anybody. We know the stats say this, but our guys are telling something is wrong with the system, and it starts at the top. I'm sorry, but maybe there's a way to put Mozeliak out of his misery, out to pasture. Maybe bring him on as the PR guy. Well, what did they do with the whole analytic department? Well, we didn't fire him. His wife took an opportunity to go to another place, and he's going to be involved in a smaller frame. Well, can we do that with you, Mozeliak? Could we put you in a small frame where we just put you in bow ties, and then you can just talk about the Cardinals and not have anything to actually fucking do with the Cardinals? Because you're not doing anything that helps.
Hey, I want to throw one thing out here. I did this the other night on our short show, and I'm going to turn his headphones down. This hit me. This is kind of an after the fact thing. He won't be able to hear this. The Padres were involved with the Trevor Bauer trade.
I already heard.
Yeah.
So just kind of really like, okay, there's San Diego again. Once again, rearing their full head. So
go fuck yourself, San Diego.
There you go. Okay, his headphones are back.
Stay classy, San Diego.
Yeah, stay classy, guys. Glad you could help us out again and get involved. And I'm actually shocked that they didn't pick up the Mejia guy once we DFA'd him, since they seem to like to do that to the Cardinals organization.
Well, remember, it's pronounced San Diego.
Oh, sorry, San Diego. Brandon on the who's viewing right now. What is with people that are so upset we didn't get Wheeler? It just doesn't add up. A lot of people say Pont sucks, Hudson sucks, but all those guys have a better ERA than Wheeler. Wheeler isn't much better than Waka. Okay, so my point I made is that right now, and it's not an invalid argument there, but my point I made earlier is, yeah, you're not getting an ace, you're not getting an anchor, but are you getting somebody that can help eat up innings? Because that's what's going to come and bite them as we work our way through August and get into September. That bullpen is going to get taxed. They need people that can get 5+ innings in. Okay. You brought up an interesting point, Braden, about Mike Schultz saying Walker had good stuff. Well, dude, he retired 11 batters and gave up 6 runs. How in the hell did he have good stuff? Somebody explain it to
In
me.
other words, he was smoking good stuff. That's what
you asked
Schilt
for
meant.
that. You asked for that. Yeah. So I mean, seriously, like, who does he think he's talking to? And I realize he's going to go to bat for his players, and I respect that. But come on.
Hey, maybe he should literally go to at bat for his players. Put Schilt in the lineup, make Mozeliak the equipment manager.
He's got Mike Schilt has got. If you had to draw a picture of a dad bod, you'd be drawing Mike Schilt.
Won't you?
I don't want to see him hold a bat. I don't know what his bat speed would be with a wiffle ball bat, so I'll pass on that. I didn't know this about Mike Schilt. He had the same eye condition that Tommy Pham does, so maybe he can bounce back.
Won't you be my neighbor?
Yeah, I know. All right, so okay, so the Cardinals are now they get to travel home. They get to play the Pirates, and this is a series that they're facing Chris Archer, I think, in Game 1. Sure, the Cardinals could sweep this weekend, or they could lose 2 out of 3. I just don't know anymore. This West Coast trip, they scored a total of 7 runs over 5 games against the Dodgers and the A's. That is not going to win you very much. And as much as we're bagging on pitching and not acquiring an arm, what the hell's going on with the offense? It's been this way all year long. They had one of the worst offensive teams, maybe the worst in baseball over May, June. We're not talking about position players that much. I mean, not as much as we're all over the pitching right now. So it's just kind of funny where our attention goes to. We didn't get an arm. We start looking at the rotation. Outside of Michaelis and Flaherty, it's a train wreck. I mean, it's an absolute train wreck. This is supposed to be a source of depth for the Cardinals going into the season. It is now thin. I mean, way too thin. When you have to rely on, Hudson, who's still young, Wainwright, and Waka being in the rotation. Like, my God, how bad are things going to be when you look up and let's have Michael Waka lead us into the Dodgers series. Let's do that. And so.
Yeah, that was a good idea.
That's why we keep going back to the pitching, Brandon.
I feel like Waka's become the Edwin Jackson of the rotation.
They should have picked him up. Bring back some of that 2011 World Series magic. Maybe
Edwin would at least win you some games.
Speaking of picking up, Chris brought up a good point. He says, I think the Cardinals should have took on an Aaron Sanchez, and I actually agree with that. I mean, I always thought Aaron Sanchez was decent before he even had that really good no-hitter combined with the Astros. I honestly would have took anyone that I could have got. So, and if you got a starter like you should have, if I was the Cardinals, I would even consider putting Hudson in the bullpen because that's what he came up in the bullpen. And I watched his major league debut, and he looked pretty solid in the bullpen. He just let all stuff go. That's what I think they should have done. But yeah, I'm always saying that with the Cardinals in that sentence.
Okay. I'm just looking at the stretch of games starting with the Astros, Cubs, A's, and Dodgers were something that we were talking about. This is going to be a really big test for this team over this stretch. You've split a home series between the Astros and Cubs going 3-3. You don't feel terrible about that. Astros are pretty damn good. You take 2 out of 3 against Chicago. Okay, it's a division. In division, it's not like you haven't seen them before. So you take 2 out of 3 there, and then you go out and you lay a giant egg in California against 2 pretty good teams, the Dodgers and Astros by far being way out in front of everybody else as far as just how they're playing right now. So, we missed the playoffs, but what do we think we have even if we made the playoffs and scratched our way in? We are not getting past. Right now, I'm looking at this. Who are you getting past in the playoffs? Like, if you're not able to beat good teams, and they're clearly not right now, how do you think the playoffs are going to fare out? And don't anybody point at 2006 when they had an 83 win team go all the way, right? Don't point to that. Talking about right now, they're not getting past anybody, Adam.
No, I don't even know what to say. It's just that depressing to look at what they thought their rotation was going to be at the beginning of the year and thinking that rotation was going to be what you had at the end of the year. I mean, you go in thinking things are going to happen, but with Martinez, Flaherty slumping in his second year, his first full year, I mean, showing really good outings the last, 6 or 7 times out, but still, Michaelis has regressed tremendously more than what we would have liked. And the rotation together, they just, you feed off of each other. And if you're a mediocre pitching staff, you feed off of mediocre outings. Like, well, you did 3. If I get 4, I'm going to be all right. I mean, it's just, it's terrible, terrible pitching. It's bad management. It's, short-minded on the side of the front office to think that they didn't need a Dallas Keuchel to start the year.
Guys, what do you think about the Cubs now? Is it their time? They're gonna pull away this time for real, or are they still going to give all the other teams in the Central that are within striking distance? Are we getting over this just the tip thing? Are they going to start pulling away or not?
No, they're terrible on the road.
They are terrible on the road.
Winning tonight, but
a blind squirrel in a nut.
Yeah, unless they start showing that they can win on the road, they're not going to pull away. I mean, they got half their games. I mean, they're playing amazing at home. What are they? 40
second best home record in baseball.
Yep.
Yeah. They've only got 18 losses at home.
Yeah, I think they've already won 44 games at home.
Yeah, 44 and 18, which is amazing. But they're 23 and 40 on the road.
No. Wait, 21. I think it is, because I think I read they'd have to go 23 and 4 the rest of the way to equal the worst road record that they've had under Joe Madden, which I think is 44 wins. So I think they've only got 21 so far.
You would think that they would move back towards the mean of winning on the road.
You would think that Joe Madden's a good manager still.
You would think.
Well, you've got. I mean, now's the time to do it, right? I mean, Phillies are going to give you a hard time. I know the Reds have given the Cubs a hard time this year, and that's who they're up against here for 4 straight days, and then the Pirates. So, yes, with their struggles on the road, their struggles with the Reds, it'll be interesting to see if they're able to put any more distance between.
It's all about the pitching. I mean, that's really what has been the Achilles heel on the road, has been the pitching. At home,
too. Yep.
At home, the pitching's been fantastic, but it's something. It's got to be something mental when they get on the road. Guys just forget how to pitch. They start throwing meatballs down the middle of the plate. I don't know what it is. I mean, and this has been asked to Joe. This has been asked to Theo. This has been asked to Jed, and nobody has an answer for it, which is unbelievable. But it's the players who need to figure it out. And if they can get it figured out and start playing good on the road, then I think they will start pulling away. I think this road trip that they're on now will tell us a little bit more about how they might do the rest of the season on the road.
Yeah, that's what we've been saying for the last how many months. This next 10-game stretch is going to tell us a lot, and it tells us nothing.
Right.
And
because they can go get their butts killed and do what their last road trip was. They were 3-6 on their 9-game road trip, and then they come home and they smoked everybody. I mean, they just beat the tar out of a good A's team, sweeping the Brewers. I mean, they played lights out baseball this last week. So I would love to see that carry over. It looks like it did tonight, even though Cole only made it through 4, but Chatwood pitched another 3.5 innings and didn't give up any runs. So right now they're up 12-5.
Hey, Ron, maybe you guys would trade for Chatwood in the offseason.
I wouldn't
put it
we could use more walks, We could always use that.
we could.
Oh, you're talking about the wrong guy this year.
Yeah.
He has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, and that's saying a lot. For Tyler Chatwood, he's been great.
So Brandon asked, why not bring up some of these young arms and give them a shot? And I think that's what we've been talking about. The Cardinals did just bring up Junior Fernandez. I don't think obviously I don't think he's playing a game yet. His first game will be Friday. He'll be out of the bullpen, and so we'll get a look at him. And he's one of the young arms, so he'll be making his debut. Harrison Bader taking swings down in Memphis, and all I read here is the headline. I don't even want to read the article. Bader seeing swing improvements in AAA. It's probably because it's AAA. I'm going to talk about that. I'm talking about it right now.
Mose will be like, well, Bader's really
here we
improved.
go.
Bader's really improved, but now we think you have a legitimate spot.
Well, yes, if you ask them, they think Matt Carpenter going 0 for 22 and then having a 2 for 3 night and be like, you know what?
Yep.
Let's get him up. He's ready to go. He finally hit the ball.
Yes, Chris is right. Helsley can be stretched, and I really don't like the way the Cardinals have dealt with him, sending him back and forth so often down to Memphis and back to St. Louis. They've really screwed him around. It's frustrating, and I think he should get a shot at that spot in the rotation. I mean, he cannot. And I like Michael Walker. It's really nothing personal, but the performance just isn't there for a starter. He actually hasn't pitched that bad out of the bullpen. So I think why there's not a role swap between those two, I really don't know.
Well, that's how bad they are, man. I mean, they only had Michael Walker the Pro. They found a spot where he works in middle relief, where that's kind of his strong suit right now and has been. And they're like, oh shoot, we actually know the pitcher. You know what, Michael, just go out there and give us, as many innings as you can, 80, 90 pitches. Okay, yeah, I'll get through the third inning. Great. He's not a starting pitcher now.
I want to talk about something stupid here real quick. The Cardinals are making a logo change to the STL logo that's on their hats. Braden, I want to get your take on this.
The changes they made, it almost looks like they rounded it out, and it almost looks like a poofy marshmallow. Like, like that tire company thing with the
Michelin?
The white guy.
Michelin. The Michelin.
Yeah, Michelin Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
It almost looks like they made it into a circle and poofed it out like a marshmallow. To me,
it's more rounded. They've gotten rid of the sharp edges.
It looks. I think the sharp edges were fine. I just think they made it just look a little bit more like.
Do you think they're giving us a distraction so we don't pay attention to what's going on the field? That we get angry over the hat logo instead of getting angry over. Maybe they'll forget about.
No, it's new branding. It's new branding. Feel safe with us, like the Michelin tire. We're fluffy. We're not going to go out of our way. It's not going to be great, but it's not that bad either. It could be worse. It could be worse.
All right, I'll get your take on this, Adams. There's a question that came across here in the live viewing. Do we see anyone getting DFA'd in order to make room to bring up some of these young names that are being talked about here? Who do you see, Adam, on the roster right now? 40-man. What do you see possibly happening? How are they going to make room for any of these guys that we're all screaming to get a look at?
Well, the problem is that they're probably not going to. However, I mean, Robinson would have to be the first to go, in my opinion. I don't think he's having a stellar season in AAA, not doing much. You could DFA him. However, I don't think they'll bring up anyone, unfortunately. I think what will happen is they'll wait until September.
Tony Cingrani, another acquisition that won't probably ever play a game in a Cardinals uniform, but he was part of a deal. I'm going to look at a lot of names on here. You get Brett Cecil. What the hell is he still doing here?
Yeah, Brett.
Right. It's funny, right? It's funny as hell. Like, why is this guy on the 40-man roster? It's absolutely ridiculous. Now he's on the IL, right? So technically there's room there, but you've got Tony Cingrani. That's a complete joke. Let me go down the list here.
Justin Williams, the guy that we
tell me Ross Cup is not on the.
It's sad.
I'm going to say his name wrong.
Rosarina?
Rangel Ravello?
Oh.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Do we need? No.
He sounds like a pasta.
Don't get Rosarina in the outfield because we cannot lose Ravello. Like, we're going to die. Who else here? We got Edmundo Sosa. I don't know anything about him. Justin Williams, the guy
he's
you're
actually
talking
a pretty good prospect.
I would guess.
Go ahead, Pete. What were you saying?
I would say, Ron, I would guess that those guys on the 40 that you don't recognize or don't know anything about are the kind of fringe players who are out of options and who had they not put them on the 40 would have been exposed to the Rule 5 draft in the front office. Right. The front office calculated that San Diego would have gotten them. Now, why not be proactive and just trade them to San Diego rather than protect them on the 40-man and waste roster spots? Because San Diego is going to sign them anyway. So, pick up the phone, call them and say, hey, here are a couple of guys that we're thinking of letting go. We know that you're going to want them anyway. So why don't you send something our way?
Yeah. And then, Shreve's no longer on it because Chris is right. He's Shreve been DFA'd, I think, a few times, and he's cleared waivers, and he's going to keep his $900,000 salary coming this year, and just he's with Memphis, doing something with Memphis right now. Tyler Webb being another one. I mean, okay. It's kind of funny. So Molina's working his way back, which means Kisner is going to probably be back down in Memphis just so he can get reps. And of course, Molina will assume his everyday duties. Here's the interesting thing, though.
You can't mess up with the line of what they're setting up, Ron. Come on, we're comfortable.
Comfortable, confident, and complex.
This is
so Chris in chat says Greg Holland was just DFA'd. Bring him back. Sorry, buddy. He's a Cub now.
Derek Holland.
Greg.
Oh, I'm sorry. Greg Holland. Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Same difference. You know what? San Diego will take Greg Holland.
I'd like to see him do it. Yeah. So anyway, I'll stop bagging on the Cardinals. Yeah, the new hat logo, whatever.
I'm not done.
I don't. Oh, go ahead.
So.
You're still gonna rag on him?
This is Mozeliak, not in the offseason. Trade. No, not in the offseason. But now, then I have pressure. But then I have to do something. No. I just can't keep my roster.
Oh, no.
I can't do it, guys. I can't do it. That is Mozeliak, not in the offseason. He has not done anything that's not in the offseason. He's great in the offseason, because he can just sit back in his chair and sip his coffee. But in the offseason, he's got to pick up the phone, and that's too hard for Mo.
Yeah, well, this is what they heard once 3 o'clock hit on the deadline on that Wednesday was
millions of voices suddenly cried out. I feel something terrible has happened.
Yeah, that was Cardinals Twitter.
Yeah, it was definitely not Cubs Twitter when we found out that meat had been shipped off to San Diego for a bucket of balls.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. So it was, the deadline came. It's still like frustrating. It's frustrating, not surprising. But I certainly wished that something would have been brought in, if nothing else, changing the mix up in the clubhouse a little bit. I mean, sometimes those little moves like that go a long way. The Cardinals made a pretty severe change in 24. That's what I don't get. Mo has done this before, where he's made a kind of a big decision mid-year. He did it in 2011. He shipped. Well, I think there's a heavy La Russa factor there, which is not there anymore, right? I mean, Tony had to have a lot of pull when he was here, and if he didn't want Rasmus out there moping around in center field, his ass was shipped off to Toronto. He wasn't buying into the program. He wasn't giving Tony his hard 9 innings, and gone. So Mo has been able to do this, where he brought in some bullpen help. In 2014, they were, they had a pretty decent team in 2014, but there's a couple guys that weren't performing. Alan Craig gone. Joe Kelly had to go too, not for underperformance. It probably was what was required to bring in John Lackey, and that changed the mix in the clubhouse a bit. So I don't get it. It's happened before, and then it just stopped. Well,
like Schilt has the pull to be able to walk into Mozeliak's office and say, I need this, right? Does he even have the personality to do it?
Right.
To pick up the phone and say, this is what's missing, or, we need this guy out of it.
The best ever. Thanks. I'll keep going.
Yeah.
He had really good stuff, though, Walker did.
The thing is, Schilt, he says, well, I have confidence in my players. Yeah, that's great. But you need to know.
It's really some of the best stuff we've seen in a while. He only gave up 6 runs and 2 home runs. And
that was a quote.
Hits. But it's the best shit we've seen all year. I don't know why you guys don't see it. Are we not watching the same game? Yes, we are watching the game. Are you? You're on the fucking field.
Hey, I want to ask you guys about LA. Adam, I know you've been to a number of games out there. Pete, you went to a game. When do the fans start showing up?
Third inning.
And don't they leave like in the 7th?
Yeah. But that's because of traffic.
Oh.
Like when we went to the game, we planned to get there a half hour. I planned that we were going to get there about a half hour before first pitch, and we walked in at the first pitch. It takes forever to get in, and then the parking lot is huge. So you're walking for 20 minutes just to get to the stadium.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, so a question for you guys. This is from my buddy Chris over at Cardinals Nation 24/7. Pete and Elliott, is Lester's arm wearing down?
Go ahead, Elliott. You haven't said anything in a while.
Yeah, you all right?
You know what? I know it seems like the last couple of years he's had a few games during the season where he gets blown up. I mean, in 2016 he had a game where I think he maybe pitched 1.2 innings and gave up 10 runs and was pulled out real quick. Because I know he's probably talking about the other night against the A's where he totally got destroyed. And how many innings did he get through? 2? And gave up 11. Oh, no, he got through 4. He got through 4 and gave up 11 runs. And it depends on how he responds back. He's probably the number 5 on the starting pitching right now for him. So we'll see. I mean, if it continues to trend like that, it could be age could be catching up with him, but we don't know. So I want to say yes and no. I mean, there's really no definitive answer to it quite yet.
Pete.
We've already gotten value out of Lester's contract. So anything that we're getting now is pure gravy. So if his arm is wearing down, I really don't care. He's given us more than you could have expected when he first signed that contract. And he's still providing good starts. But I think Elliott's right. Every year around this time, he throws out a clunker.
Or two.
Or two, right. The one on Tuesday night was particularly bad. But still, it only inflated his ERA over 4. So he's still giving you quality starts. If Lester can give you 5 or 6 innings and put you in the game, you take it. He's the number 5 starter on the team right now.
Greg, that's part of the NL Central Stomping Grounds, whose name of the group changed today. It's quite a funny story. If I have time, I'll get into that.
He's got to be there for the next 28 days, too.
Oh, my God. That's hilarious.
Way to go.
He needs IL rest time, 10-day DL stent. He's had a bad stretch every August. So seems to be
He's getting up there in age, so I mean, whatever.
That's all right. You got you pitching like you should. So if he keeps that going, I'm really not worried about that playoff.
Yep.
So.
Dad, ever since we made,
did you mean that as a double, like you use pitching like you should?
Yeah.
You
Darvish is pitching like you Darvish should.
Okay, that sounds better.
Dad, ever since we made that video in April at that Cardinal game where we checked who was pitching and it was you Darvish and we laughed, he's pitched pretty good.
I know.
Yeah.
For that video.
They said that he's become really comfortable in the clubhouse and with the players, and he hasn't used the translator all year. So they said he's been joking around and stuff like that with everybody. So and I feel like maybe that had a lot to do with some of his struggles. Besides being hurt, was that he really wasn't comfortable with the team. So and unfortunately, we brought in what was the catcher that we brought in for a short stint with them from LA. That didn't work out. So
well, the clip Braden's talking about is this one.
See here who the Cubs playing. Darvish is pitching.
That might have backfired on us, right? Yeah. Oh well.
And it was you Darvish and we laughed. He's pitched.
Oh,
see here.
Whoops. Okay, I got rid of it. Adam, wanted to bounce back to you real quick because I know we're getting up on an hour here. I don't want to keep you guys on too long tonight. Give us a movie update, Adam.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the Grail is actually still running through the festival circuit. We just got into one called the Jelly Fest, which is in later this month, and then there's another one that comes up in October, which is called Film Angelica Festival. So still doing the festival circuit, and looking to sell it hopefully in the near future.
All right, we still have to check it out. We still have to see.
Oh yeah, that's right. I got to get it to you.
Supposed to get our copy.
I gotcha.
All right. If you guys don't have anything else, I have nothing more to bitch about tonight, but that's the way the last 2 weeks have kind of been. I've been waiting to kind of get some of the system. Did a short show the other night just to.
I needed to.
Yeah, I know you needed to because I hear it all the time.
See, us Cardinal fans see what happens with Mo and all this. We see it coming every year, and so we just like roll our eyes like a worn out parent tired of it.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Now you understand.
You noticed that stuff, huh?
Yeah. Now he gets it. Valuable lesson. Pete.
Yes, sir.
Let's do this.
Well, when we are not live on Facebook at Team of Rivals Podcast and not the 108-year one title circle jerkers or something like that, you can find us at our own website at teamofrivalspodcast.com. We're on Twitter at Team of Rivals Pod, and we're on Instagram at Team of Rivals Podcast. You can contact us by email at the show at teamofrivalspodcast.com. On Twitter, you can find Elliott at
TOR_Elliott.
You can find Ron at
TOR_Ron.
You reached
75.
And
Brecklin, when she's on the show, is always on Twitter at CarryOnCard, CAREY. It's a pun. She's clever. And Adam, where's the best place for people to find you on social media?
Absolutely. You can find me at Twitter at Adam J. Mauer.
Outstanding. If you're listening to us after the fact, why not give Radio Public a try? Radio Public's a free platform that throws a couple of pennies our way every time you listen. Otherwise, catch us anywhere you listen to podcasts. iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, and Google Podcasts. And if you'd like some of your own Team of Rivals gear that is not soft goods, don't forget to visit the team store on Zazzle.
Don't buy shirts. Just warning you ahead of time. Speaking of the podcast, look, anybody who's going to watch this live, watch it later, those of you, share this around with your friends. Anybody that's a baseball fan, whether it's the National League Central or not, really doesn't matter. But if they're into baseball, they're into humor, us getting off track all the time. We don't take ourselves seriously, and I think that comes through in the quality of the work. So feel free to share us. Give us a rating. Please only do 5s, though. I'm not trying to manipulate it or anything, but 5s look really good for us on iTunes. Also, if you're just a video watcher here, do us a favor. Go to your phone. There's a podcast app on there. Search Team of Rivals Podcast. Just hit subscribe. It's not going to hurt you. We don't want anything from you. We just want the downloads. We want our clicks because we're hosed that way. All right, Adam. Thank you so much for Adam. Thank you for joining us tonight. Appreciate your time. Always great talking to you. Cubs. What is this?
Podcast app.
Okay, thank you.
Here.
Gentlemen, we'll see you back here same time in a couple weeks. Braden, it's good to have you in studio.
Share the podcast because there might be a lonely Pirates or Brewers fan out there.
That's
they
right.
could always use something they're relying on.
No, I will not ask her for a review, Chris. That's pretty funny. I don't have time for that story, but worst show I've ever done. Had that name on it. All right. We'll be back here in a couple weeks, everybody. Love you so much. Bye-bye.